Welcome back to Spirit Sherpa, where we bring spiritual practitioners into success, sovereignty, and spiritual expansion. My name is Kelly Sparta. I am a transformational shaman and a spiritual business coach, and I'm here today with Anastasia Papanikolaou. How did I do?
Papa Nicolau.
Papanikolaou. Okay. I knew I was going to murder it. I shouldn't have tried, but hi, Anastasia. Welcome to the show. Please introduce yourself to the listeners.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Kelly, for having me. So I'm Anastasia, and I have been in the healing arts world for the past 26 years. I do a variety of modalities. I work primarily virtually right now, although I do hands-on work. And I also teach different classes. I love empowering people with simple tools to help them feel better and, bring in more wellness into their home and family.
Awesome. And so you came in through, again, the Holistic Entrepreneurs Group. Marissa has been generous to me in terms of providing me with amazing healers. I want to just say this, Marissa's group is just filled with amazing healers. And so I am certain that you are really good at what you do because that's who she attracts. And so you came in and tell me a little bit about why you're coming on to the call today. We're doing, just so you guys know, we're doing a sacred business calibration for Anastasia. And I said it right this time, right? I forgot to ask you before we started, and I apologize for that. But we're going to do a sacred business calibration for her. And so why did you sign up for this call today?
So I saw that it was a mix of like a business reading and the energy around my business, which, as I mentioned earlier, I've been doing this for 26 years. I started all those years ago to help myself. And
Mm.
I knew at some point I would want to be working with people, but it's been part time. So, I'd like to move it into more full time. And so I just thought this would be give me some insight as to like what's in my way, how I'm in my own way.
Aren't we all? Yeah. So, great. We will work from that perspective then. So you're kind of just getting your full-time business started at this point then. Yeah. Okay. So we're sort of in the nascent stages. And I know when we talked, you said that your website isn't even fully done yet. So, you're going to give that at the end, but it may or may not be fully formed by the time this comes out. So be aware if you're going to click through. So
Yeah.
we all have building stages, and I'm doing it now too. I'm rebuilding my website right now too. So it happens. And I've been doing this for 22 years online, and I'm rebuilding a website. So
Mm.
yeah. So anyway, the program that we're working with here, or program, the process that's the word I was looking for. Process that we're working with here is we're going to take a look at your business. So I'm actually being called. It's interesting because I already know what I want to tell you from a practical business coaching perspective based on what you and I talked about a little bit before the call and what you said just now. But what they're calling me to do right now energetically is to look at the container of your business. And so let me just take a quick do I have permission to look at you? So your business is usually held within you initially. So is it okay for me to come into your energy field and look at that?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Give me a minute. All right. I'm told I tickle, so don't be surprised. Okay. So yeah. Okay. So the container of your business, ooh, yeah, it's a bit wobbly. So here's the reason why that's relevant. So the container of your business is the energy of how people will be held in the container. And so most of our clients are empaths. And so when they feel into an offer that you're making, they're feeling into the container that it's being held in. And if that container is wobbly, and the wobbliness comes from it can come from a wide variety of things. And so I'm going to talk in general right now, and then I'll go take a look at yours and see what the issues are. But it comes from, it can come from a lack of clarity about what you're doing. And so what you want to do is you want to make sure that you are solidifying your container energetically because, all your stuff is in the container right now if you're not consciously creating it. And so, one of the things that can be super helpful is just to sit down and solidify the container intentionally. Because if you're creating an intentional container for it, then now it's a container you've built for the business designed to be solid, and it's not just whatever you happen to throw out of your own energy field into it. And so you can create it consciously in a much more solid fashion. So you don't have to do all of the work internally before you can make an offer, right? Now, I do recommend doing the work internally because that'll show up in other ways. But this particular piece can be solved through energy work, right? And so, I'm going to assume that you know how to create an intentional container. And then is that true? Yeah. Okay. Good. Because it's any magic. It's how do you do it? You intend it, right? It's super simple. Okay, so that's step one. Let me just see if they've got anything else they need me to talk about with you right now before I go into. No. Okay. So I'm going to go straight into the business side of things. And the business side of things right now, what I'm seeing, and I think this is so you've got several problems because when I asked you about where do I send people, you said, well, I can give them my booking link and all the information is there. But you don't have all the information there, right? You've got little blurbs because that's all you can put on a booking link is little blurbs. You can't do a full sales page, right? And so the little blurbs are barely enough, maybe, to get somebody to do a discovery call or to buy if they already know they want to buy with you. Okay. But people who don't know they want to buy with you. So that's 3% of your audience, by the way, people who already know they want to buy with you. And so at any given time, 70% of the people who come across your feed are somewhere in the point of where they might buy from you, right? And 30% are just not your people. Okay, so you can't worry about the people who are not your people, right? But 70% of the people are your people, and 3% are ready to buy right now. Okay, right? So this is the piece that I feel like you're having issues with right now. Plus, you don't have a clear offer. When I asked you what it is that you do, you gave me a whole lot of different modalities, and then you didn't tie them together. I said, "Okay, so why do people come to you? What is it that they're trying to get?" And you were able to say, get out of pain and, deal with stuck emotions in the body and things like that. And so those are the pain points that people are coming to you for. And so what you're doing is what you listed, you went from listing the things that you do to the pain points that you address, but you still haven't gotten to the benefit of why somebody would do it, right? So you need that benefit statement because people don't buy if you're selling a vacation, people don't buy the plane, which is the things that you do, and they don't buy the misery that they were in that caused them to want to go on vacation, which is the pain points, right? They buy the beach, which is the destination, right? So you need to know what your beach is, and you need to be able to state clearly what that beach is. Now, I find a lot of spiritual practitioners have a really hard time with this because they're in what they do. They can feel what the result is, but putting words to that result is often difficult. So one of the easiest paths to knowing what that is asking your clients, you know, why they booked and what their results were, right? Because testimonials and case studies are your most powerful form of creation of know, like, trust, because social proof is huge, right? And if you can't do that or you don't have access to that because you're just starting up or whatever, or your clients aren't able to put it into words, then go to your local AI and say, this is what I do. Tell me what the outcomes are that I create. And it will tell you. It's very good at that. And I love it for that purpose. So it will even offer to write you a sales page. And I think you should say yes. Because if you don't know how to write a sales page, an AI written sales page is better than nothing. And you will upgrade your knowledge over time and be able to do it. But do train it on your language and how you speak and call it out when it does stupid AI things. Eliminate certain words and say, you're not allowed to use, dots and things like that because it likes to do that. But it's a sales page is better than no sales page. Okay, so done is better than perfect. So get something up and then go back and optimize it later as you figure out how to do it better. Okay. So your challenge right now is that you're offering a bunch of different services and a bunch of different classes. There is no brand coherency, right? And that's part of the reason why your container is wobbly. It's because your brand is all over the place. And so, and this again is very common for new practitioners just getting started. They're like, I do this and I do that and I do that and I do that. And it's like, great. Pick a person that you like to work with. So, what is a personality profile of, think of the people that you've worked with. I mean, you said you've been doing this for 20 some odd years, right? Out of all the people you've worked with, what is the type of person you like working with best?
They're typically women that have done some kind of energy work, that have some sense of the spiritual community, and they're ready to have a shift. They're ready to have a change. So I don't have
What?
to. I'm sorry.
What kind of change?
Um, it could be the releasing those heavy emotions that they're holding. It could be the pain in their body that they're
And
looking to release.
why are they seeking that? What is the outcome they're looking for?
So one of the things I say as a little tagline is after people work with me, they feel lighter, they feel better, they feel more free. I don't know if that would be the beach
That is
scenario.
not the beach. I mean, it's
Okay.
beach adjacent because
Okay.
it's non-specific, right? It's like, oh, you feel better. It's like, what does that mean? I don't know, right? You feel lighter. Okay, I have a kind of a sense of what that is, but I'm not really sure what it does for me, right? So, there needs to be, if you're going to use non-specific terms, you need to define it as you feel this so that you can X, right? And so, that sort of thing. So, feeling lighter, feeling freer, feeling, you know, eh, better. These are non-specific terms, right? They're just sort of general feelings. And people don't really buy feelings. They will buy their way out of bad feelings, but they don't buy into good feelings. There's a very small percentage of people. So 10% of people go towards what they want. 90% of people go away from what they don't want, which is why all the marketers out there are like, you got to hit the pain points. You got to hit the pain points. Even with the people who will buy going towards what they want, they still need the pain points there to be referenced. Unlike in traditional marketing, we don't hammer on the pain points in our market. We have to focus on the beach because the aspiration is more important for most spiritual practitioners, especially in the market that you're talking. Okay. There's a transition point that happens. And so I've been talking a lot about the stages of spiritual evolution that I've laid out for people. And so the very beginners are in that there's got to be more to life than this. And they start looking for a solution. You, as you're meditating, and really just have a conversation with each of them and see which one makes you feel better.
Yeah, I mean stage 4 because they're really gonna dive deep if I have to pick one. Yeah, they're ready.
So that is a much smaller market than
Mhm.
stage 3 because not everybody makes it through the magic pill stage, right? A lot of people will bounce and go into a different practice or whatever because they don't want to recognize that they're the problem. So, um, and the solution. Let's be clear. So, uh, so the stage 4 market is a smaller market. When you're looking at stage 4, you're probably looking at other spiritual practitioners as your market, or at least people. I would say a good indicator for this would be Reiki practitioners because that's where a lot of people start in energy work. Is they start with Reiki because it's so prevalent. Um, And so, a good indicator of that would be Reiki practitioners, people who are doing psychic readings, people who are, any healing practice, anything where they're doing retreats or things like that. Those people would be your people. Okay. Now, for those people, you're going to have a really solid container because they're holding a container for themselves and they need you to hold a container for them. And, they're at a stage where they're breaking down and they need a solid container held for them. So that's crucial that you have that in place before you try and market to those people. You can market to the stage 3 people without a solid container and they're just grasping at anything they can get and they'll buy that. But the stage 4 people are like, "Nope, I need somebody who can hold me." Right? So that's where that is. All right. Now that you know who you're marketing to, now you need to know what you're marketing to them, right? So now you have who it is that you're marketing to, and that now you can create what they need, right? You always start with your target market first. Who do you want to sell to? Because if you don't know who you're selling to, you don't know what they need. Okay. And the more specific you can get, the more you can charge for your services. Okay. So if you say, I'm a healer and I work with everybody, well, that doesn't really mean anything to people. Right. And they don't even know, they're like, oh, well, you work with everybody. Well, okay. But if I come in and I say, I'm a healer and I serve spiritual practitioners who are deep in their personal growth work and I help them to clear their blocks so that they can fulfill their mission on the planet, right? That is a very specific niche, right? And somebody can look at that and say, yes, that's me, or no, that's not me. If you can't look at what your offer is, what your overarching thing is that you do, and say, yes, that's me, or no, that's not me, then you have not defined well enough. Okay. And so, that's an example for you, right? But just as a thought. So you need to be that specific. And the more specific you get, the more you can charge for your services because you're more specialized. It's why we pay more money for specialists as doctors than we do for general practitioners, right? Same idea. As the more specialized you are, the more valuable what your service is to the people who need that specialty. So are there fewer people in that market? Yes. But will you get more business the more specialized you are? Absolutely. And that's because people more clearly can define whether or not you're for them. Mm. So it draws in the people you need. Okay. So with that said, I'm going to say stop selling services. Okay. You stop selling sessions. Okay. What you need to do is sell outcomes. This is how you transition from a practitioner to a business. Okay. You go, what does this person need? And then you provide everything they need to get to that outcome. Right. So it's a whole process in there. It's like, okay, so I am in pain. Let me go back to when I was in stage 4. Right. So and I say this for the people who are, trying to buy credibility by getting more certifications and things like this, right? So, certifications are not going to give you credibility the way you think it will. What gets you the biggest credibility is having a solid container and a framework that gives people the belief structure that you can take them where they want to go. Sorry, had to take a sip. Anyway, so does this make sense to you?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Do you have any questions about anything we've talked about so far?
I think you shared a couple of statements, but I guess I would, and I don't use an AI program right now, but I guess I would be looking for that statement that tells them this is what I'm doing and these are the results. So I don't know if you have any more
So like
suggestions.
a prompt for the AI? Yeah,
Yeah.
I can absolutely give you a prompt for the AI. So the thing you have to know about prompting AI is the first thing you have to tell it is what role do you want it to play? So if you're going to ask it to tell you what your outcomes are. You're going to say, act as an expert in branding and, take this information about what I do and deliver to me the deliverables that people will receive when they get these services from me. Okay. When you ask it to write a sales page for you, you're going to say, I want you to act as an expert in sales conversion, online sales conversion, in SEO, which is search engine optimization, right? And in persuasion, because that's what a sales page is persuasion, right? And so act as an expert in these fields and then deliver to me a sales page based on this. This is my target market, and you tell it what the personality profile is of your target market. And your market is going to be women aged 35 to 55, primarily cisgender, primarily white, although not exclusively, but about 70% of the market is that. Um, and then, who are dissatisfied with their lives and who are spiritual practitioners or just getting started in the spiritual practitioner world. And they've been studying for 3 to 5 years, and they are at the stage where they have realized that they are creating their reality and that therefore they are the problem and the solution to everything in their life. And I am here to help facilitate that process, the process of evolution for them so that they can step forward powerfully in their lives, right? And then you say, write me a sales page for that, right? But you have to tell it everything you're doing as part of your program. So you have to know what your program is before you ask it to write a sales page, right? So, but you need to have a clear idea of what it is that you're doing. So if you were to do a comprehensive overview of what you want to accomplish with people. So you're pulling trauma out of their bodies, you're healing them from physical pain, which is again trauma in the body, right? It's all trauma in the body. So what you're doing is healing the past, right? And so we're going to stay away from the word trauma because trauma is a problematic word. But we're going to say healing the past and how it stores in your body and in your energy field. So release you from your past so that you can step forward into the world in a powerful way and unfettered by the things that held you back. Right now, you're not going to use the word unfettered because I have a really big vocabulary and a lot of people complain that they have to look up words when they listen to me. So you don't want to use big words. You want to use, and this is going to make you so depressed because it depresses the crap out of me on a regular basis. So 22 years ago, when I started in internet marketing, you would write to a 10th grade level. And then it was an 8th grade level. And then it was a 6th grade level. Now it's a 4th grade level, which is horrifying. Okay. But you have to write to a 4th grade level. And so you have to use simpler words than unfettered. So, you can say, break free or, just use simpler words. Okay. And so, that's the process that you're looking at is you want to be clear about what they get on the back end, right? What's the beach, right? And then you state it clearly and you say, this is the process. And you have to have a framework because people in this stage are just out of 3rd stage. And in 3rd stage, they are anal-retentive about the information and they want the complete curriculum. They want to understand exactly what's going to happen. They want to understand why it's going to happen. They want to understand everything. They're all up in their heads. Okay. 4th stage have not gotten out of their heads yet. Okay. They're trying, but they're not there. So you're really going to have a framework for them to feel safe to work with you. And so that framework needs to be, okay, this is where you are, and this is what I do to help you through it, and this is what you get as your outcome, right? So it's a 3-step process. And the where you are includes the pain points. It'll be an offering. I think of programs as things with classes, right? So you'll have to think about what it is that you're doing with people, and there should be a structure to it, right? Because you're not going to do a one and done, right? These things come in layers, right? So, we're all working on the spiral as we work our way in. So, and each of our issues is a spoke on that spiral, right? And so you're like, okay, so you're going to come to me for this issue and we're going to do this process. And this process is going to walk you through this stage of this issue. But you need to recognize that you're going to visit this issue over and over again because until you are complete with it, there's going to be a deeper level each time you come back to visit it. That's how this process works. And so when this process shows back up again, you come back to me and we do the next layer. You're setting expectations to get people back in the door, right? And then, if you're really good and you're really skilled, then you will say, okay, we're going to work it at this level, and then we're going to work it at this level, and then we're going to work it at this level. And you're going to just do all the levels of that issue at once. Now, what you have to recognize is if you do that, all the other issues that are on there, all the other spokes in their wheel are going to get brought up because when you do the deeper level of the first one, the other ones have to clear in order to get to that deeper level. And so there's going to be a whole lot of popping up of other things, right? And so there's a whole process to this, right? So you have to think about how you want to do that. Right now, you're being in the moment with them. And what I'm saying is that if you want to have a business and not a practice, you need to not just show up for what's there, but you also need to direct the process in a larger fashion, right? You need to know what that process is, how it's going to evolve, and then direct it through that. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. Okay. So the process of that is very much about that. But here's the thing. You have to be describing an experience they already have had, not trying to educate them. You cannot educate and sell in the same piece of marketing. Okay? So your people, you either need to be developing a relationship with them where you educate them about what it is that they need and things like that, which means you have to have them already on the mailing list and things like that. Or you have to be selling them with a PAS, problem, agitate, solve, right? And if you do the problem, agitate, solve, that is a closing uh, presentation, right? That is you recognize this pain, you know it in yourself. I see it in you. You feel seen. I have the solution. You're like, I want that solution. Bye. Right? That's what a problem, agitate, solve does. But if they do not recognize that experience, they will not buy. Right? So you can't be delivering something that is not that is positioned in a way that they don't understand it. So if you say, if you try to say, well, this pain that you're experiencing in your body, it's stuck emotions. If you try to do that and say these stuck emotions are from your past life, either from a past life or from earlier in this life, blah, 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 that's an education piece. You're never going to sell off of that. Okay. I'm not saying don't do education pieces. I'm just saying you got to make sure you're doing pieces that will close too. Okay. But don't even try to the thing you convert people to off of an education piece is your newsletter. You convert people from education to more education in your newsletter or to a free lead magnet of some kind. That's what my Boundaries for Empaths program is, right? So all my people are empaths, so I offer a free Boundaries for Empaths course on my homepage of my website. If you guys are hearing this and you want to get it, it's in the homepage. Look for the lady with the crystals in her hands, okay? But it's a free course, right? And so when people are in the education phase where they're trying to learn more about it, a free course is very attractive and that gets them on your mailing list. Your mailing list is gold because that's where those 67% of people who are not yet ready to buy right this second end up. And so you want something that gets them on your mailing list. Do you have a setup? Do you have a mailing list set up?
I used to, but I need to start again. Yeah.
Okay. What platform are you using?
I wasn't, to be honest. I was going through my Yahoo Mail back in the day.
Ooh, okay.
So, yep.
Yeah. All right. So you're going to need a platform to do that form of emails, right? Now, that's a whole nother layer. I'm not going into email marketing because I could do like 3 days worth of conversation on that, but that's a good overview for you. Okay. And each of those services have education on email marketing, and that is free within the service. So you should absolutely learn about email marketing and educate yourself that way. So, but this is a way to keep people engaged because people only see a very small percentage of what you post on social media. Okay. I moved to Panama. I did 150 videos about moving to Panama. And then a friend, somebody I knew personally, who knew me, who follows me, reached out a year and a half after 150 videos and said, "Oh my God, you moved to Panama. When did that happen?" 150 videos. He didn't see a single one. Okay. So this is what I'm saying. This is what happens in social media is that sometimes they see them and sometimes they don't. So I don't worry about reposting the same things over and over again. The average person sees one out of maybe 20 things you post. Okay. And they have to see you 21 times before they remember who you are. Okay. So uh okay, so this has been a long recording, so I think I feel like I'm gonna overwhelm you if I give you too much more right now. So, do you feel like you have a sense of that you have what you need to sort of take the next step at this point?
Yeah, I have a lot, and I will have to listen to it again because I didn't write down some really, really key things. So,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah.
That's why we will get you the recording before we go to air. So you're going to get the recording later today. So the whole thing, as well as the social or the Sacred Prophets group, is going to get the raw recording of this too. Whereas the podcast itself will only get 15 to 20 minutes. This has been like an hour and like an hour. Have we been on the phone? Yeah, I think we've been on for like an hour. So, they'll get the whole thing in the Sacred Prophets program, so they get the benefit of the entire conversation. And so, guys, if you're listening on the podcast, know that this is going to be edited down for you so that we're not overwhelming you with information. But if you want the full recordings of all of these calls, they are in the Sacred Prophets program. Um, okay. Do you have any questions that you can think of right now? I know you've probably got a million questions, but anything that you feel like you could use right now.
Nothing's coming to mind because there's a lot here, and I am aware that I do have the website, but it needs a refresh for sure. You know, the email is important and I need to bring that back. But what you said about the container and really like drilling down and speaking more specifically has been something that's been challenging. So when people leave a session with me, they tell me how they feel, they tell me the results. So I have that, but I need to be able to better explain it. I
Yeah.
absolutely need to have a better idea of that. And you're right, people will feel that on the sales page or the landing page, whatever. They'll be able to feel, oh, she's speaking to me. I mean, I've been hearing this for a while. I've just haven't sat
Totally.
down and put it together. Yeah. And I wish I could just, pay somebody to do it for me, but I don't have the funds to do that.
Well, you
So
can't do this. Somebody else can't do this part for you anyway. You have to do this part. It has to come from you. So, the other piece that I forgot to mention about the AI prompt is you definitely want to train the AI on your language before you ask it to write a sales page for you. So, you need to feed it like, take every article you've ever written, every blog post you've ever written, put them all into a single document and upload it and say, "This is how I write. I need you to write the sales page like me." So it sounds like I wrote it. Okay. So that needs to be part of the prompt as well. So I always forget that when I'm talking about it because I've already trained my AI with I have a book. And so I uploaded my book to AI and said, "Here's my book, write like me." Right. So 135 pages that I personally wrote. It has plenty to choose from to be able to understand my sentence structure, the word choices that I make, things like that. Right. And if it gives you stuff that isn't from that, you need to say, "No, this doesn't sound like me. This sounds like you. This sounds like random AI. Please go back and reference the material I gave you and write like me." You have to be willing to direct it. Okay. So because sometimes it's just going to come back with crap. And you're like, this sounds terrible. Right. And you're just like, okay, well, and it has good days and bad days too. Let me tell you, AI has good days and bad. They're like, oh no, it's just the same. No, no, no. I'm telling you, AI has good days and bad days. So if you're not getting what you need out of AI, close the chat, walk away, wait a day or two, new prompt, new chat, and start over, and you will get a better result. I promise. Because I've been using AI for about 2.5 years, 3 years now. And I will tell you, and if that doesn't work, try a different model because there are different models within the system. And sometimes a different model will give you a better result too.
That's really good to know.
Little diatribe there. Anyway, so are you feeling complete then?
Yes. Yes.
Okay,
Thank
so tell everybody where they can find you. I know the website's still in process, but we're going to give the website now, and then I'm going to put a link to your booking spot in. And you are in Massachusetts. You're in Hudson, Massachusetts. So if somebody wants an in-person live experience, they can get it there. And you also do online work, right?
I'm mostly online. I can see people in Westboro, Mass. I do live in Hudson, but they can find me in
Westboro.
Westboro, Mass at a crystal mine, but they'll have to connect with me to secure that. The website is onecosmicheart.com, and you spell the word one, so onecosmicheart. I had a .net. That's why I almost said .net. .com. I
.com.
will give you the booking link through Acuity, which is too long. I won't say that here.
Yeah, we'll,
And
we'll put that in the show notes. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Thank you
All
so
right.
much.
So
Thank you so much, Kelly.
oh, my pleasure. And so, guys, if you have found this helpful, if you know somebody who's a practitioner and not a business owner who needs to make the transition, please share this episode with them. It's a great way for you to balance the karma if you got anything out of it. And please also like, subscribe, and share and rate because that helps us to get discovered more in the podcast world. And that's also true on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, please, 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 we desperately need engagement on YouTube. We really need it. We're not getting as much as we would like, and so if you can go to YouTube and watch the video all the way through, and even if you just leave it running in the background, that's fine. Since you've already listened. But if you could do that, that's a huge help to us. And then like it and subscribe to the channel because that tells YouTube that what we have is valuable and it gets it out into the world more. So I really appreciate you in advance because I know some of you are going to go run and do that for me, and I would really appreciate that. So thank you. And remember that what you focus on expands. What you intend is what you create. So choose wisely.